Hello and welcome back to another episode of Robuilt. All right, so you guys asked me your hottest, most burning questions as they pertain to life and entrepreneurship and the best accents that I can do imaginable. And I don't know which one that one, but it's some kind of accent. I mean, I'm sure that accent exists somewhere on earth. But I wanted to take today to answer questions that you have about me. It's been a while. Since we've done an AMA. So let's get into your questions now.
And we're back in the studio, and for the first time ever, I've decided to use natural lighting from the outside and change things up because why not? Before we get too far into the video, I do want to say a quick thank you to today's sponsor, Wealthfront, but a little bit more on them later. All right, so you guys asked a lot of questions. I think I got over 200 responses on this, and I actually pulled the majority of these from my host campers and from Instagram, so go give me a follow there if you ever want to participate in these AMAs. If you start from scratch with only $50,000, what are your next steps? I would probably get a second home loan in the neighborhood of $250,000 to $300,000. That allows me to put 10% down. So let's say it's a $250,000 house. That's $25,000 plus closing costs and all that stuff, probably about $30,000. And you can dump the other $20,000 into furnishings and get into a smaller, maybe not quite as juicy Airbnb, but a really great start. Or splurge on a personal residence with a guest house or a garage apartment that you can rent out to house hack. What cities are cash flowing for long-term rentals right now? Don't know, don't care.
Boom. Roasted.
Sorry, I know you probably want a real answer, but I don't invest in long-term rentals. Sorry. What cash on cash are you aiming for on properties you're closing on now? 20%. 20%, especially if you're doing a 20% down loan and interest rates are 6-7% or 7.5%. I think if you can get a 20%, I don't even know, like, that's not right. Whatever. 20% is great, 15% is great. Honestly, with the power of cost segregation, I'm fine with the 10%. Cost segregation allows you to reap some serious tax benefits, like wipe out your entire tax bill if you know how to use that to your advantage. Stay tuned on that. I'm gonna bring my CPA on to talk about taxes pretty soon. Do you maintain any sort of reserves for X number of months of expenses, and why not? I do. I hold more cash than I'd like for a couple of reasons. I like to have a lot of cash stashed away because I save up for taxes, because taxes matter when you're self-employed.
Money, please.
Especially at my income level, I owe a lot of taxes this year, probably in the neighborhood of $400,000. So I keep that aside for that purpose. And I also have so many projects that I'm working on, from developments to hotel renovations to acquisitions, that I do have to have a lot of cash on hand. They're not necessarily sectioned off in the way of reserves for personal savings or anything like that, just because I have so much cash that if I really ever needed to, I could pull from there. But yeah, I do hold a lot of cash in reserves and I hate it. All right, so we got way more banger questions in the pipeline, but I wanted to talk about today's sponsor, Wealthfront, really quick. As an investor, I always have to keep cash on hand for all the different projects that I'm running. But there's a tiny problem with that, and it's that I don't like keeping my money in a bank account sitting stagnant and not working for me, especially with everything going on in the economy. So you might be wondering, well, Rob, where should I keep my money instead? And the answer to that is an account that provides a high yield, like Wealthfront's cash account. Wealthfront just increased their APY to 2%, aka 20 times the national average, aka what? That's crazy. And not just crazy, but it's one of the highest yields in the game. So if you're saving for a down payment or any short-term goals, Wealthfront is a really great way to earn a little money on your money while staying relatively liquid in this volatile market, which isn't something you can say about stocks or crypto, which your friend Rob here has learned the hard way. But if you're investing for the long term, you can quickly and easily move your cash from Wealthfront's cash account to their award-winning investment account in just minutes. They also provide FDIC insurance through their partner bank, so you can rest easy knowing that your money is safe and protected. So if you want to start earning money on your money with Wealthfront, be sure to click the description down in the link below. That's not how that goes. You get it though. All right, now back to the video. Will we see more Rob on the street engaging in questions? That video was fire. That was my favorite video that I've shot probably ever, and I thought it was just so perfectly edited.
I'm really not interested, thank you though.
And it performed 10 out of 10. So relatively good response in the comments, and all the stats on YouTube was really great, but as they say, it tanked. So I don't know, sadly this is one of those cases where analytics trump creativity, and I'll probably do more just because they were really fun, but generally people were uninterested, like this guy. Should you sell your long-term rentals to buy more STRs? Yes and no. I mean, obviously I'm biased here and I like short-term rentals and Airbnbs, but I wouldn't necessarily be chipping away at your long-term portfolio. If it's there, if it's stabilized, I would probably keep those running. If anything, instead of selling them, I would try to convert them and see how those perform for you. But don't sell the farm. Do a cash out refi, pull out equity, use that money to reinvest into new short-term rentals, but keep that going. If you've already invested, you've already put the hard work on it, let that mailbox money build up. With rising inflation, how much do you believe think Chipotle will raise the price of guac? Good question. A lot, because I just went to Chipotle and got double steak, and it was like 16 bucks. 16 bucks for a double steak Chipotle bowl. The end of times are here, people.
It's over. We are screwed.
Oh, you know what? I did get a drink. Okay, it was like $14. What's the best learning experience in starting a short-term rental journey? Yeah, this is a good one. A real good one if you guys want to get real profound here. I would say, for me, I was so focused on cash flow at the very beginning, and so were so many other people. And I understand why. At the end of the day, we're getting into this so that we can probably replace our 9 to 5. If not that, we just want extra cash flow to subsidize our lives, right? But being so focused on cash flows caused me to be so cheap and just never rewarding myself because I was so focused on that cash flow figure, and I was focused on the wrong thing. Because then I realized that the actual equity that I was building up in all my different properties is what was ultimately building up my net worth. And so what I've realized over the last year is that cash flow is great, but it makes you rich. And rich is temporary. You can spend all your cash flow and be poor again. But equity makes you wealthy, and I think it also makes you more disciplined and makes you understand the fundamental thing that if you want to be wealthy, you can't be pulling money out of your properties. You have to let it build up, and because that property is not very liquid, you just let that wealth build up over time, and then one day, when you want to retire, or whenever you want to reward yourself, or whenever you want to pay for your daughter's wedding, or your kid's education, whatever that is, you can sell that property, you can cash out and use it to subsidize those lifestyle milestones. I talked about this in a video recently called Why I Stopped Buying Airbnbs, and Caleb created this literal slider graphic that really illustrates the investor evolution from desiring cash flow to desiring appreciation. I'll link it up here if you're interested in watching it after this video. Thoughts on doubling down in a particular location if you already have a team, or diversifying to another location? Good question, good question. I like it a lot. I like that question a lot. Yeah, I would say if you're starting out, doubling down is totally cool. I would probably go that route. You have a home base. I want you to learn that location, build your dream team. Don't create too much stress in your life, but as you begin to invest more and more and more, I'd probably start branching out and diversifying in more cities or states. But for your first 2 to 3, I don't mind you staying in the same location. I actually think it's a really smart way to get started to learn how to manage properties before you take on the task of managing a multi-state portfolio. Like me, I think I'm in like 10 different states or something. OPM for STR. Okay, this is, you could have just written out the whole question, man. Other people's money for short-term rentals. So this is actually how I scaled up pretty quickly. I partnered up with different people in my life. I would put myself out there on the internet, and I would talk about my different Airbnbs, and I would talk about how I was doing great and what I loved about it. And I had people reach out and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. Do you think I could invest with you? And I'd say, sure. And so a lot of the agreements that I came up with were, if people would fund it, I would run it. In other words, I'm the brains and they're the bankroll. And that means that I'm going to do all the work. I'm going to do the sweat equity. I'm going to run it. I'm going to manage it. I'm going to find the properties. I'm going to analyze them. I'm going to take care of the day-to-day. And in return, I get 50% stake in the property and revenue share. Now, when I was getting started and I didn't have as much credibility as I do today, I would structure it to where the investors would get paid back their capital contribution first before I ever took a dime from the profits. Now, if you're just getting started, I don't think any deal is a bad deal. I think you should be okay with taking a 25% stake in the property, or maybe no stake at all and just a revenue share. I think just getting into your first partnership with an investor is education. It's learning the ropes of how to deal with somebody, how to manage expectations and timelines and budgets. And then once you master that and you get a few more in your portfolio, you can start getting a little choosier with your terms and asking for more equity. Remember, there is no standard practice here. There is no right or wrong. There's just what's right for you. Rob, how do I overcome analysis paralysis? You know, I always tell this example of when I was really into DIY and fixing my own house back in the days when I had the time to do that. And if I had a project that I was going to work on, like on a wall, for example, I would punch a hole in the wall and just commit and say, oh shit, I just punched a hole in this wall. I guess I have to finish the project now.
That was an overreaction.
Or else I'll have to answer to my wife. And so I would do that all the time, where I would just take a big commitment swing on a project to force me into it. I kind of think that's the same thing with analysis paralysis when getting into real estate. So what does it mean to punch a hole in the wall for your first deal? And I think that means calling a realtor and taking action. I think it means getting a pre-approval from a lender so that you can actually make an offer. Or my favorite version of punching a proverbial hole in the wall, making an offer. Make an offer. Find a house that you like and make an offer and get it accepted. And guess what? You officially have a hole in the wall that you have to fix because you're in escrow now. Take action and force yourself to learn on the fly. You can also overcome analysis paralysis by doing research, watching YouTube, reading articles, getting on the Bigger Pockets forums, subscribing to my YouTube channel because it's free and I put out free content every single week, and it takes me and Caleb dozens and dozens of hours for him to fly out here, for us to shoot it, outline it, edit it, curate it, make it perfect, make it funny, add all these cool effects that you see on screen. What was I saying? Oh, that's right. Yeah, just subscribe to the channel. Sorry, sometimes I get on a tangent, but but learn as much as you can for free. Find a mentor, join a mastermind, or if you want to go next level, join a program like Host Camp, my 12-month mentorship program that teaches you how to start an Airbnb business from start to finish. It's over 80 videos, 8 hours of content, and 11 monthly coaching calls with me and interior designers and loan officers and realtors and automation specialists and comping coaches. Really, it teaches you everything you need to know. I didn't intend for this to be a plug, but we are here. It is my YouTube channel. I'm allowed to do whatever I want. Anyway, if you want to learn more about Host Camp, you can go over to hostcamp.com to book a free call with my team. What is your schedule like juggling business and time with kids? This is very hard. I do talk about this a lot on the channel as openly as I can. I'd actually like to make a whole video about this, but my life is just so scatterbrained and so unorganized in that capacity because you're never off as an entrepreneur. I mean, you're just always on 24/7. And I don't know, it's all floating around in the ether, and organizing it into one cohesive video is tough. I will say for the last 6 months, I have been clocking out at 6:30 for work, which is pretty late, but that's because I start at like 10 or 11 because I like to hang out with the kids in the morning. But my wife and I have really talked about what is best for the family. Like, we don't know. I don't know if spending time with the kids in the morning is more important or not. So I'm working on a new schedule where I start right at 9 o'clock and then I try to be done at 5 o'clock on the dot. I've already failed today. It's a Friday afternoon. It's 5:45 p.m. But for the most part, I've actually been pretty good at getting home at 5. If you want to see a video on it, I guess let me know in the comments below. If I get more than 20 people that say they'd be interested in the hardships of balancing work-life balance as an entrepreneur, I'll make a video on it. I've also been thinking about having my wife on the channel for an AMA on marriage and, you know, kind of like what it's like to live this weird world of self-employment, entrepreneurship, content creation, all that kind of stuff. So if you're more interested in that, let me know. What are you investing in other than real estate? A couple of things, primarily real estate though, to be honest. I mean, I just bought a hotel, currently in the works of buying another hotel, which if you're interested in investing in that, stick around until the very end of the video and I got a little something for you. So I am still pretty heavily in real estate, but I will say outside of real estate, I am working on forming a few different businesses. One is a service product in the Airbnb space. One of the things I talked about on the channel a couple weeks ago is watches. I'm actually wearing one right now. And the first person to say what kind of watch this is in the comments, you can ask me any question and I'll respond with as thoughtful of an answer as I can. Let me be clear about this. This isn't like a get rich quick scheme or anything like this. This is me just parking money in assets that I know will either retain value or go up slowly over time. So I'm not really expecting to make a killing on watches or anything like that. So I might make a video about my journey collecting Rolexes, but we'll see. I'm also gonna be investing in some Bitcoin. I'm spending a lot more on content and then some personal real estate. Building a really cool house that I will show you guys someday. I did a video on this not too long ago. Go check it out if you want to see it. Sorry that everything's a video plug. I feel like every video I'm like, go watch this video and this one and this one and this one. I feel like I'm one giant spider web of videos all referencing each other. I have $10,000, decent credit, and currently renting. What type of loan for an STR should I look at? Hard truth here, none. If all you have is $10,000, you need to save more. Let's just say you could afford a house, like no money down. What happens when your water heater breaks, your AC breaks? You're gonna eat so much of your budget. You need more reserves than that. So if you want my advice with what to do with $10,000, I would go out, get an FHA loan, put 3.5% down, live in that property, and do what's called a house hack. House hack basically means you rent out different rooms in your property and you use that rent to subsidize your mortgage. When you're just starting out, it's so important to get out of paying a mortgage as fast as possible. So however you can wipe out that bill, do that. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is through house hacking, because let's say you have a 4-bedroom house, it's a $1,200 mortgage. I don't know where, somewhere in the country, I presume, but let's say you rented 3 of those rooms out for $400 a month. Boom, you no longer have a mortgage. You no longer have to pay $1,200 a month, and thus you get to save $1,200 a month. $14,400 is what you're gonna save over the course of the year that you can then go and maybe move into another property and use the house that you're living in as a rental, assuming that all abides by the FHA guidelines. Check with your mortgage broker. And if you do that several times over the course of 10 years, you have several houses that will have appreciated, and then guess what? Maybe you'll even become a millionaire within 10 years. But the point is, that is the power of not paying a mortgage. Focus on that first and then get into a short-term rental. Favorite personal vacation destination, Copenhagen, Denmark, by far. If I could live there, I would. I love Copenhagen so much. The architecture is beautiful. And then my favorite place of all time, the Louisiana, the coolest museum ever. If I could live there, I literally would. 10 out of 10, I highly recommend. What's your DTI? My debt to income ratio. I did some math on this today just so I could give you an accurate answer, and my debt to income ratio is about 7%. And that basically means of all my gross income, 7% of it is debt, which is honestly pretty good. Where did you get your sweet glasses? Warby Parker. Warby Parker. I don't know, I feel like that has to be said with the French accent. Where did you get your upside down smiley t-shirt from? Why is everybody so interested in my fashion? A company called Emojine and Willis. Let me check. Emojine and Willie. Favorite STR market right now? Big Bear. And you might be wondering why. If you've been following the channel, then you know that I've been trying to scale. I feel like for me personally, where I am in my short-term rental journey is I really like teaching short-term rentals. I think you guys know that if you watch the channel. And so for me, I'm still gonna be buying single family acquisitions here and there and then luxury properties whenever I can. So I feel like I'm not gonna say I've mastered short-term rentals on a single family acquisition basis, simply because there's always something to learn. And I still learn something about this business every single day. But now what I'm working on mastering is scaling. And in that, I want to teach people how to scale. I've taught you how to buy 1 through 5 houses already. If you watch the channel, then you'll have a good understanding of how to get started. But what I don't cover a lot is how you double, how you get from 15 to 30 or 30 to 60. And that brings me to where I am now, where I focused for 5 years to get my first set of 15 Airbnbs. And then overnight, I went from 15 to 35 because I acquired a motel in New York. And now I've got this new opportunity and project where I'm gonna be acquiring another 20 plus cabins in Big Bear. It's currently a hotel and it needs a ton, and I mean a ton of added value. And it's also currently just being run as a hotel, but I'm here to take down the hotel industry and do it the Robuilt way. So we're gonna be remodeling this hotel, and we'll still have a direct booking website, but we're gonna be hosting it on Airbnb, on VRBO, on booking.com. And I think it's got the potential to be the coolest project I've ever done, simply because the actual property is freaking awesome. But I'm also gonna get to partner up with you, my audience. You can invest in this property and you can be a part owner in this hotel if you're an accredited investor. So if you're interested in learning about this opportunity, I'm gonna leave a link in the description down below where you can learn more about what I'm calling the Investor Collective. It's really cool and I'm excited. Just wanna re-emphasize that you do have to be an accredited investor for this opportunity. There's a few ways that you can become an accredited investor. Usually you have to make $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year if you're married or have a net worth of $1 million. There's a couple of other ways to become accredited, so look into that. And the reason we have to do that is because it's a 506c fund. It's regulated by the SEC, so we're just, we're trying to be legal. So anyways, if you want to learn more, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. We're going to be hosting some workshops and AMAs and Q&As and all that kind of stuff for the people that are interested in this. So get excited and let's talk soon. Any plans to host a conference soon? Yes, in November. Stay tuned. Very excited about that. Building versus buying Airbnbs, pros and cons. Usually building is going to give you a much better return, more equity, but it's going to take you 14 to 18 months to do. So if you're looking to make money right now, then you'd want to buy something now. But if you're looking to make money more immediately, as in right now, then it's a really bad option. Buying a house off the MLS means that you can take action now. You can get started in Airbnb. You can make an offer today. You can get your first guest if you're working as fast as possible in 90 days and start cash flowing super quick. Now the returns can be there, but you have to work a little harder to find them. And then you have to compete against all the investors and cash offers, which can make it really tough to dive right in. So do you want to jump in and start making money right now? Maybe a smaller return, or do you want to wait a year, year and a half, go through the woes of new constructions, but get a higher yield? That is really going to depend on you. Okay, at 6:03, I said I was going to come in at 5:30. Speaking of work-life balance with my wife, I hope you enjoyed this. Did you like that? Do you like AMAs? I enjoy doing these. Honestly, they're my favorite kind of video to do because I can just get surprised by these questions and just speak from the heart. I don't know why I always say that's my Bill Paxton impression, but I feel like it's a pretty good one. Anyways, I'll catch you on the next episode of Robuilt. Thank you to Wealthfront for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to go to hostcamp.com if you want to book a free call with my team to see if my mentorship program is right for you. And that is it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. All right, see ya. Bye.